It's a bye week, baby. How you feeling? Welcome inside Bonfire Midweek. Darren Bombing is my name. Zach Schnitzer is his name. Schnitz, how you feeling, man? Bombers coming off a pretty tough loss in Hamilton, but all things considered, 12-2 as you see the YouTube thumbnail. You got the bye week blues, or are you feeling good at 12-2?
You know what? I'm fine. I've cooled off. And I actually feel good for Hamilton, to be honest with you, especially the Dane Evans story. We talked about the mental health aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Happy
That was a good
birthday,
conversation.
Turkinator. Happy birthday. I saw that on Facebook. And happy birthday, Mike
Sure.
O'Shea. I hope he's doing some catfishing or something fun.
Not like the online
No,
catfishing.
no, not the can you imagine Mike O'Shea? Can you imagine anyone else
Can you
can you
imagine the
imagine
ESPN 30 for 30? Like you
yeah,
watch the Manti Te'o and then you
yeah.
watch the Michael. No, of course.
It's
We
funny you
joke.
say that because Derek Taylor asked if he had watched that, and then Mike O'Shea was like disgusted. He's like, I would never watch garbage like that. But it would just be like the anathema of Mike O'Shea to do something like that, but it would be the perfect cover. But anyway, no, I'm doing well, buddy. I forgot about the game. I'm more paying attention now to things like, Drew Desjardins being released today and the mess that's going on in Saskatchewan. It just keeps getting better and better over there with Craig Dickinson's comments and Cody
Better and
Fajardo
better.
whining and Shaq Cooper and Nick Marshall coming out against the coach on social media. It's just a beautiful thing, buddy. And I'm doing well. I'm just enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to just burying them on the 30th, regardless if we get anyone else healthy. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, no, I'm well. I too am looking forward to Friday, September 30th, 7:00, Riders in Winnipeg for a second game at IG Field against the
Oh,
Green Guys. That is awesome. I love that part of the schedule this year. Should mention, it is a Bombers bye week, but of course, Winnipeg Jets training camp gets going Thursday and through the weekend at Iceplex. It is open to the public. If you're down there and you see me, maybe you see the trademark hat, come say hello. Would love to meet you. Would love to chat with you a little bit. And if you're able to, follow us on Instagram. I think you're able to. I think people out there are able to.
yeah, you
Follow
put
us
it.
on
So
IG.
do I. I never use it, but you have one. Yep.
Yeah, bonfire.sports is where you'll find us there. I'm going to have tons of Jet stuff up there throughout Thursday and Friday and the weekend. Saturday, I got to work a little Bisons. Sunday, with no Blue Bombers football this weekend, there is football at IG Field. Sunday, September 25th, kickoff is at 1 p.m. The Winnipeg Rifles are on a 3-game winning streak. They're second place in the Prairie Football Conference. And coming to town, the 5-0 Regina Thunder. The last time these two teams played, week 2, Winnipeg was in Regina, lost by 2 points to a team right now that I believe is ranked number 2 in the nation. The Rifles are ranked 7 in the nation. That's like over a dozen teams in Ontario, well over a dozen teams in BC. And then, of course, the power conference of Canadian junior football, the Prairie Football Conference, with Winnipeg at 3-2 on the season. And those 2 losses coming to teams that are very, very good. So Bryson McNeil, the Winnipeg Rifles quarterback, he's throwing the lights out. Who is he trailing? Only one man in all of junior football in Canada, Carter Shuchuk. He will quarterback the Regina Thunder. So this is a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning matchup. This is a Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert matchup. Get down to IG Field on Sunday at 1:00. Tickets are $15. Seniors are $10. Anybody under 18 is free. And if you can't make it down to the game, cjfltv.com. The Winnipeg Rifles are a big supporter of us here on Bonfire Sports. Whoa, that was hot.
Well, I was just responding to my buddy Greg here.
Oh, okay. But
He was sharp. He saw the camera light ring as I was playing around with it.
he
Anyway,
is
sorry,
on
Darren.
the ball. He is absolutely on the ball, Gregory. And Gregory, if you're on the ball, you want to be down at IG Field on Sunday for Rifles Thunder and a true tilt between two of the best teams, not just in the PFC, but in all of Canadian junior football. The Canada Bowl is going to be hosted in a Prairie Football Conference city this year. This could be a conference championship preview between Winnipeg and Regina. So head down there this Sunday at 1:00. You can find more information, riflesfootball.com, all the social medias. You'll find them, Rifles Football.
What time, Darren? I missed that. Sorry, buddy.
What's that?
What time is the game?
Sunday, 1:00 kickoff.
1:00. Ah, my daughter's got to dance at 2:15.
Well, then you're going to be watching live on CJFLTV.com. I'll have the play-by-play. Matt Rollison, exemplary color man, will have the color commentary.
It's like Banjo Bowl, but in the CJFL, buddy. Like
That's right.
Winnipeg Regina, like top two teams. That sounds incredible. And this Bryson McNeil, you said, was the second coming of Josh Allen, or he sounds like looks like Josh Allen. So
big boy, big
look at what
arm.
the Buffalo Bills are doing, just rolling teams. They don't care if you just won the Super Bowl. They don't care if you're coached by Mike Vrabel and have an incredible defense. Hey,
yeah.
I will definitely check some of this out. You're selling me, buddy. I love it.
So lots to get to on the show today.
Yes.
We're going to go around the league in a 3-game week 15. We'll look ahead to week 16, also 3 games on the slate. Zach, we'll get into your sober second thoughts. We'll talk about the playoffs, the standings, playoff positioning, and what the Blue Bombers need to clinch. They've already clinched a playoff spot, but to clinch a home field date, they'll need a little bit of help in one of those key Western Division matchups this weekend as well. We've got prizes. We're going to crack some packs open, courtesy of Joe Daly Sports Cards and Custom Framing. We'll talk about the Bombers' injuries, the upcoming trade deadline, and then the practice roster expansion window, what that is, how Winnipeg will approach it, and I want to get into a conversation I had in our Bonfire Starters DM group that we're in on Twitter. And shout out to everybody from our DM group who is joining us live tonight. What does the future look like at some of those key positions that Winnipeg is maybe aging out, or will have to look to replace talent into next year and the year after? So offensive line, receiver, DB, linebacker, defensive tackle, defensive end, quarterback. We're going to get into all that as well. We'll have our NFL picks. And of course, we're going to talk about Cam Judge. We'll talk about Joe Pop. Congratulations to Joe Pop going into the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Ring of Honor. And that's going to happen in the final regular season game of the season, Friday, October 28th at halftime. The BC Lions are in town. Joe Poplawski, the one and only, enshrined amongst the legends in the Blue Bombers Ring of Honor.
Yes, I want to talk a bit about that too, Darren. I'm glad you brought that up because it made me kind of compare him to someone who we were talking about last week. It kind of is coincidental. We were talking about the Ring of Honor, buddy.
Yep.
And some of us, talked about someone sort of being maybe is Nick Dembski. And so I did a comparison of some of their numbers. Okay. And I was a little too young to appreciate Joe Pop, but I looked up his numbers and it's an interesting comparison. And yeah, we also, everyone is watching. We can't help but dive into the delicious free dessert that is the Saskatchewan Roughriders locker room right now in social media. Oh, thank you, Jeff, by the way, for saying I might have some big traps for wearing this all the time. But anyway, let's get into it, buddy.
Iron chain link.
Iron chain
on that. Yeah, looking forward to our NFL picks. That's the screen I'm looking at right now. So I'll switch over to CFL and, of course, look back on week 15, the week that was in the CFL. It started with Edmonton at Saskatchewan, and a bit of a surprise. Saskatchewan had a chance to put the Elks under in 2022 and eliminate them from the postseason. Didn't happen. Taylor Cornelius was only 54%, but he threw for a touchdown. He ran for another, including 93 yards on the ground, 11.6 yards per carry, a huge run of 56, and also threw for 237 yards, elevating the Elks over the Roughriders, who are in a real tough spot right now. Zach, do you remember anything from that game? That was it seems like almost forever ago now.
Well, it was before we got smoked by Hamilton, and we were talking about how it was a bit of a consolation prize. That was a game that the Riders absolutely had to have at home, eliminate the Elks, solidify their playoff positioning, wash out the disgusting taste of getting roasted on the Banjo Bowl on a hot day. And they laid an egg. Their offense was atrocious. We know that O-line is struggling. I saw our buddy Safamod from the Piffles podcast trying to get Drew Desjardins to sign there, do anything. But I'm like, hey, he'll come here first. We'll talk more about Drew. But I'm actually more interested in the drama that happened after. Let me just get to it quickly if I can, and then we'll move on from this game. But we all know that Craig Dickinson went out and said to the media, Darren, and you're a reporter, so like, how often would you get a coach being that honest, and maybe shouldn't have been that honest, and saying we're not very good? Like, you shouldn't say those things because it comes out, and then social media, you have guys like Nick Marshall and Shaq Cooper saying like, "Come on, coach," and they're dissing the coach on social media. Then you have Cody Fajardo whining, "Oh, the fans are against us. It broke my heart that they were booing." Like, you look at a difference between mental resilience between Cody Fajardo and Dane Evans. Dane Evans was getting roasted too and booed, but he came back. And the only way you talk is with your play. You just play better.
Yep.
Now, like, I was listening to the 3 Down Nation podcast. They were saying that the Rider fans have booed Ronnie Lancaster before. They've booed Henry Burris. They booed Darian Durant. Like, they boo everybody. This guy, and I'm not being pithy, like, I have mental health issues. He needs to get help because this locker room's already fractured, Darren, and now he's whining again about the fans, and they're just going to rip him apart even further.
Yeah.
But as a reporter, like, how surprised were you that Craig Dickinson actually said something like that?
Well, as a Winnipeg-based reporter, extremely surprised because Mike O'Shea is very certain to never do that sort of thing. When he speaks to the media, when he answers our questions, when he makes comment, however or whenever that is, he feels that every individual in his organization, player, coach, trainer, support staff, executive, whatever, are in the room. And he's speaking directly to them. That's how Mike O'Shea handles himself and the Winnipeg
Yeah.
Blue Bombers. Craig Dickinson did sort of the opposite. And it was obviously called out by Nick Marshall, who was an outspoken individual, but it was his verified Instagram account that did state that. Shaq Cooper, I don't believe with Saskatchewan anymore, or he was
Not a
released.
major player anyway. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
on the practice roster.
former Blue Bomber. I think he's got a ring. I think he's got a.
Yeah,
I
he
think
would
he's
have
got
a
a ring.
ring. He came in
Yeah.
with Winston Rose and Sergio Castillo. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So either way, when Nick Marshall said, "Well, it's funny you say that we're a bad football team because you're saying the opposite to us in the room." How does a
Oof.
coach garner any semblance of respect, even a morsel, when you try to say something to your team and be convincing to them and then go to the media and it's in the paper and it's on the radio and it's on YouTube and it's on a podcast and it's everywhere.
Oh,
How do you do that?
you
So
can't. You can't. And I
I
think
wonder
sometimes. Go ahead.
I'll just say I wonder if this is the final, like, is this the death knell of Craig
Yes.
Dickinson as head
I
coach?
think I think it was already, written maybe in paper, and now it's written in stone. I think Waiters is right. They're going to have to clean house because this is not a team that is going to get to the Grey Cup. This is a team that may not even get to the playoffs. We talked about this in midweek with the standings, the way they stack up with Hamilton maybe coming on, Darren, and Saskatchewan's remaining schedule. We may, and it's easy for me to say, I don't have to interview O'Shea, but I imagine as a media man, Jared, it's not always the most fun. It's pretty awkward to interview Mike O'Shea. It's hard to get anything out of him. It's like blood from a stone. But from a fan perspective, I see and can respect that because then you don't get crap like this. And I, for one, am grateful that O'Shea, I'd rather have a boring head coach in the media, albeit probably not easy to interview than someone like Dickinson, who was talking about talking out of both sides of his mouth, saying
Right.
his team is not very good after he's trying to pump them up in the locker room.
Yeah.
It's like any parent knows that. You say yes, and then you say no, and then you
How do
say
you
yes,
prepare
and then
them
you
to
say
how do you
no.
prepare them how do you prepare a team to go win a game when you're literally telling them in the room, you guys are a good football team. Let's get it. And then in the media, be like, look, I got to be honest with you. Now, I do understand, like maybe there's a bit of a twist of logic in there, like a weird twist of logic.
I don't think he's that smart. Like, you think
No,
he's
I'm
trying to
not saying
like,
a twist of logic. I'm saying the
oh,
logic gets twisted in the mind of Craig Dickinson, in that he's admitting to the public, admitting to Rider Nation, I'm not naive. I know we're not good. But then also, here I am in the room with the guys, and these are, you're my guys, and I'm your guy, and we want to win. That's obvious. Every
yeah,
pro athlete wants to win. So I'm saying that to the public, and then in the room here with you guys, I'm like, look, we can be a good football team. You need to believe you're a good football team. That's the twisted logic, not the twist of logic, but
yeah,
the
yeah. I
logic
hear
being
you.
twisted a little bit in Craig Dickinson saying one thing, like you said, talking on both sides of his mouth, saying one thing to the public and the media and another to that group of 80 individuals, however many it is, inside that locker room when you're trying to prepare for a football game. They have a bye
Yeah,
this coming week. Am I right? Hang on. Yeah. Saskatchewan has a bye this coming week. So I don't know. Craig better make sure he addresses the team in their entirety before they, go fishing for a few days.
yeah, and I would call it a bye, not a buy. And if that was Craig Dickinson's thinking, I get the logic. It's still stupidity. I mean,
Yeah.
word you're phrasing much better than that, right?
So
But anyway, they
we'll
are
move
who
on
they
from
are.
that.
Yeah.
Elks 26, Roughriders 24, and that puts Saskatchewan at 6-8, Edmonton at 4-10, and both still in the playoff race. Edmonton still winless at home, which is really, really sad for
It
their
is
fans.
sad,
Yeah,
actually.
no doubt about
Yeah.
that. Bombers, Ticats, we'll get to that in a second. That was the second game of week 15. Back on Saturday, Lions in Calgary to face the Stampeders in the first of a home and home series between the two teams. Took overtime, and there's Vernon Adams Jr. throwing for 294 yards, running for another 32, and producing offense enough that his team could run with the Calgary Stampeders on McMahon turf. A tough place to play at any time. Jake Mayer throws for 300 yards. And here we are looking at second and third place in the West Division. And these two teams clearly don't like each other from what happened at the end of the game and after the game, which we'll get into now. But should be fascinating to see these two teams go at it again this weekend in
Oh,
Vancouver.
yeah. Hell of a game coming up, hey, Darren, and game of the week. I think the BC Lions have won the season series, but they're both gunning for second, right? And it should be a barn burner. What do you think of how the CFL handled the Cameron Judge Lucky Whitehead incident?
So we don't know what Lucky Whitehead said, but there
Yeah,
hasn't been any concrete evidence that it was so outlandish it would garner a suspension in itself, similar to Garrett Marino's insensitive comments to the heritage of Jeremiah Masoli, right? That got him another game. Uh, we don't know what Lucky said, but we do know that Cam Judge, after the game, had his helmet on and went and punched Lucky Whitehead in the face with no helmet on. So the debate I've been hearing is, was it a sucker punch?
mm,
Like, how do you define that, right? All of that aside,
right.
I think the CFL did the right thing and levied a suspension to Cam Judge, the one game, so he will not be dressed for this coming week's game against the Stampede or against the BC Lions again. But um, if you have your helmet on and you walk up to an individual that's not wearing their helmet and it's after the game, like the shoulders drop a little bit. It's like, okay, the game's over, right? You might be chirpy and you might, say this or that, but what happened here? Cam Judge, helmet on,
Yeah.
punches Lucky Whitehead in the face.
Yeah.
Was Lucky Whitehead expecting that? I can't imagine he was. No. Like some guys have swung helmets. That's ridiculous. But to wear a helmet at the end of a game and punch somebody in the face, to me, that's a sucker punch. So that debate rages on in Calgary. It's going to continue through, obviously, this weekend in the game in Vancouver. But it's almost good for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because now it's the Lions and the Stamps that don't like each other, not the Bombers or the Bombers.
Yeah,
let's
kidding.
chew each other up,
Exactly.
and they'll see each other in the postseason, right?
Yeah, the only thing I heard was two things: was that Whitehead actually wasn't able to participate in the beginning of the practice subsequent to that assault. The only thing I heard disparaging, this is through probably third hand. He maybe said something about Judge's sister, but whatever it is, it's after the game. Like I've almost never heard of this stuff happening in the CFL. Like you've been closer to it. How often does this kind of thing happen?
It does happen on occasion. The waiting outside a locker room.
Yeah,
that's total crap.
That's what I mean. Like I've never even heard of that in the CFL.
When you hit the locker room, the game's over. The day is over. Let it go. Redirect that energy or that fury.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about like street shit. You know what I mean? And you got to keep it between the white lines, as they say in football. Keep it under the lights. Keep it, between the whistles. It did go past the whistles where the game is over. Guys are walking around the field saying what's up to their former teammates or their college buddies or whatever. But I don't like the actions of anybody in this situation.
No.
Knowing that they were playing each other the next week, like Cam Judge could have, tried to show Lucky Whitehead what's up in the game legally. He didn't have to do that. Now I understand if you offend someone's family, a sister, a mother, whatever, that hurts and it burns. But to wear your helmet and punch another guy, and then for the stuff to happen, waiting outside locker rooms, parking lot BS, like that's stupid. It's really, really dumb to me.
It makes you think of Will Smith at the Oscars, like just stupidity, bravado, machismo.
I thought you were going to say like Will Smith on the basketball court in Philly.
No. But like, who's laughing now, right? Like you get a punch in and now you don't even get to exact revenge in the actual game.
Right.
People are saying Adam Rita versus Jeff Reinbold. I don't remember that. Did the coaches go at it, Darren, back then?
Oh, there was something there. I don't recall completely, but no doubt, Gregory will jump on Wikipedia and find it for us.
I bet you Reinbold just took off on his motorcycle, right? When he saw Rita, because Rita probably outweighs him by a couple 100 pounds.
Yep. I mean, either way, it's going to be an amazing matchup for so many reasons on Saturday. That's a 9 p.m. Central Time kickoff. So pre-game your way through your Saturday night and then buckle up for 9 p.m. on TSN Stamps Lions. Argos are at Red Blacks on Saturday at 6 Central Time. Ticats Alouettes go Friday night at 6:30.
Well, that's an interesting one too with standings, right? Like,
Alouettes.
I hope Hamilton wins that one.
Yeah, Alouettes coming up a bye. Ticats coming off a huge win. That's going to be a heck of a one. So Zach, let's get back to the Bombers and the Ticats, or at least dive into it. 48-31, Dane Evans named the CFL's top performer of the week, and rightfully so. Threw for 327 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, had a perfect quarterback rating of 158.3, pretty much from start to finish. He had it at the end of the first quarter, the end of the half. He finished the game with that perfect quarterback rating. They even ran the ball a little bit. Hamilton did. Where is your concern, or is there concern of this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team They've lost twice now going into their bye. Is this a lack of focus? Is this consequential or circumstantial? Or is there actually a flaw within the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that needs addressing?
No. Like I said, this team is the textbook. If you wanted to write a textbook about creating football culture, you would write a chapter about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I have absolutely zero concern about them losing on the bye, right before the bye. I think it's coincidental. They're human beings. Maybe their minds are elsewhere. They're on the road. It wasn't the most important game. It's not divisional, but listen, they've played a bunch of games. I think they were the last team to have the second bye as well, Darren. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. They simply got outplayed by Hamilton, and Hamilton played a perfect game, and Dane Evans was on point. I think it really impressed me how he came back and he sought psychological help. I think they had 2 weeks to scheme for a flawed defense because of injuries. You have a bunch of backup linebackers and DBs. You have Jeff Coat go out. I'm not
That was a
concerned.
hit. That was a hit.
Right? Like, we know the Richie Hall defense really elevated when they got the Jeffs, they got Big Hill, and they got Alexander. Like, Richie Hall can't make, chicken salad out of, what. He needs certain players in there. And of course, some of the DBs are rookies, so they might play off coverage, but Jamal Parker is going to play off coverage anyway because he's on the field side. I'm not concerned at all. The thing that about that game in particular, what concerns me is the health of the defense, Darren, and that if we continue to put Shane Gauthier on will linebacker and Jamal Parker and Evan Holm on the field side,
well, Mike O'Shea talked about, he was asked a lot about Jamal Parker during his coaches show a couple days ago. And, Mike O'Shea often in these situations will say the same thing. And he'll say, he's a young player. He needs to see more pictures. That's kind of the comment. He needs to see more pictures. What does that mean? He needs to see more pictures. Does he need to see more offenses that he's playing against? Yeah, maybe. I think seeing more pictures means seeing the mistakes you make.
Totally.
And fixing them.
Right? And Alexander admitted too, Darren, that he wasn't quite on point. He didn't make all the calls he needed to make. It was his first game back. I mean, it's.
Oh, Zach, did we lose you? Oh man, Zach's internet, from at least my standpoint here, looks like it's down to one bar. So hopefully we can get Zach back. Beautiful freeze frame of the Schnitz there for everybody to enjoy. But I tend to agree with Andrea. Defense has been a concern, not a lack of focus. Need better defense, absolutely. With the injuries the Blue Bombers have had to deal with this year, it is no doubt tough. They're on their second string dime linebacker. They're on their third string weak side linebacker. They're, 3 players deep at least in the defensive backfield. They are down players on the offensive line, or at least have been. Michael Couture still is not a starter. They're down a whole bunch of guys in the receiving core. And no word of when or how serious Malik Clement's injury is, or when he might be able to return. Teodric Hansen is an Achilles injury, but that does not mean his season is over. He is only on the 1-game injured list. Nick Taylor, spotted in a walking boot at practice last week prior to the game in Hamilton. But he's on the 1-game injured list. How much time could Nick Taylor miss? And boy, are you seeing now how valuable someone like Nick Taylor is to the Blue Bombers defensive secondary. Then there's receiver. Okay. Carlton Agadosi, Greg Ellingson, and of course, Drew Wolodarski. Now, Wolodarski's on the 1 game. That's a positive that, maybe he's only a few weeks away. But however, it's still an area that Winnipeg has struggled with this year. Nick Dembski has missed time. Dalton Schoen. Like, imagine a world where Dalton Schoen didn't come to the CFL. Winnipeg, I don't know if Winnipeg would be 12-2. I really don't know. But that's a huge hit. Having someone like Greg Ellingson out, who is supposed to be that reliable veteran, every down target type guy. So Agadosi on the 6th game, Ellingson on the 6th game, and Ellingson is only a couple weeks into the 6th game. I don't think they're going to try to rush him back, whether they need him or not. Demario Houston at defensive back, to me, has maybe been the most catastrophic or costly injury the Blue Bombers have suffered this year. Just a guy who didn't just take a starting spot in his second CFL season. Like, he was on the practice roster with Winnipeg in 2021. He didn't just take a starting spot. He took Winston Rose's starting spot at the boundary corner. Now, Rose had that job once DeAndre Alford, when Rose came back from the NFL in 2021, DeAndre Alford moved over to the field side. So Rose took cornerback position 1, effectively like the top spot. And then being a rookie, of course, DeAndre Alford taking over that second spot. Now in the NFL, it was Rose's job, and Demario Houston played at such a high level that he was now taking on the top guard jobs, guard being guarding a receiver, taking on those top guard spots or jobs in the Blue Bombers defensive secondary. That's been a huge, huge hit to this Blue Bombers defense. Getting Brandon Alexander back is good. However, it didn't help Winnipeg where they needed it. Like, no doubt it has helped them on the back end, but this is what I wonder. With Brandon Alexander healthy, where did he start his career? Where did he really put in the work before moving to safety a couple years ago? He was at halfback. So with the way Malcolm Thompson played there to start the year, the way Nick Hallett had played, I think for the most part, maybe he struggled a little bit at times, but I wonder if Winnipeg would look at moving Brandon Alexander from safety to halfback, or even corner. It's an interesting thought. We'll have to see how that shakes out. But right now, I think a greater concern is weak side linebacker. Without Malik Clements, without Kyrie Wilson, Wilson is on the 6-game injured list. Without those, it's tough right now. Shane Gauthier, we've seen him run with speed. Everybody remembers the unbelievable game-saving special teams tackle he made in the 2019 West Final, right? It was unbelievable the way he picked the perfect line and went effectively 45 degrees sideline to sideline. And here he is. Welcome back, Zach. How you doing?
Well, I'm using my phone right now. My computer is seeing the beautiful image of the underside of my chin. My cat literally undid the cord of my computer.
I want to make sure we can hear you. So make sure your audio, like, get your phone right up by your face and let's make sure we see your audio. Don't worry about your other microphone because it's no longer,
hear me
I guess,
now?
Connected. It is better. Yeah.
Yeah, my cat literally did this. I swear to God, folks, my kitty cat ripped out something. I can't even believe what I'm saying, but
I'm really surprised. Like, your audio sounds really squirrely to me. It sounds like you're almost up an octave.
Oh, well,
like
maybe the helium balloon or something. I don't know.
That's kind of what it sounds like. Does anybody else hear that from Zach? Well, now we've lost his video. I guess we've lost his audio too.
Disappeared. Well, what's going on here?
Whoa, doubled up. Anyway, I was just talking about some of those changes in the Blue Bombers defensive secondary, Zach, and went through, a possibility of Brandon Alexander moving to weak side or moving to a defensive back spot from safety. But to me, a bigger concern is Shane Gauthier. And, well, there he goes again. Take care, Zach. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll get you straightened out. This will be fun. as we chase Zach Schnitzer down here on Bonfire Midweek. Big shout out to everybody who's sticking with us and is joining us live. Really appreciate it. If you are listening to this on the podcast after the fact or watching this video afterwards, you want to be sure to join us live, because then you can join the conversation and we can do, well, something like this. We can skip through and here's one of our top commenters, Waiters 27. Hamilton was playing for their season. If they go 3-10, they're done. Yeah, I completely agree. They were playing for their season, and who better to fight hard against than the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? If you're watching or if you're listening to this on podcast, go to youtube.com/bonfire sports and like and subscribe and give us a thumbs up, comment on the video afterwards. Hey, Zach, good to see you, man.
We're talking about the Tie Cats whooping us, and now my literal cat.
Your voice sounded so screwy when you were on your phone. Oh, you literally, you said helium balloon. That's what it was like.
Really? That's so odd. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I don't even know what I was saying anymore. I was talking about Shane Gauthier and the speed we saw from him in the 2019 West Final, going sideline to sideline, 45 degrees.
Yeah, of course.
And taking down the returner. But that's one thing. That's straight line speed.
Yeah.
When he has to drop into pass coverage,
of course,
which Hamilton really went after, and you have to have no doubt Saskatchewan's going to try the same thing. If 44 Shane Gauthier is in that spot, responsible for a slot back or responsible for a running back coming out of the backfield, that's a tough spot right there. I don't know if Winnipeg has an answer. If it's Gauthier and not Briggs, there must be a reason for that. It's a tough situation right now for Winnipeg, with 4 games remaining, 6 weeks remaining on the schedule before the West semifinal and the East semifinal. If Winnipeg is able to hang on to first place, they've got 7 weeks between now and a playoff game where they need to get healthy and they need to get things straightened out, particularly on defense.
Yeah, they do. And so that, I mean, I guess 20 minutes later, I mean, that's what worried me, Darren, honestly. And I think Saskatchewan does have a quick passing game, partially because they need to, because of that porous offensive line. And Fajardo, I mean, I think it was Marshall Ferguson put out a really interesting, what do they call those things? Those target charts.
Yeah.
And he's extremely accurate within 5, 10, 15 yards of the line of scrimmage if he's throwing like that, but the long balls are a real difficulty for him. So he can hit those short screens like Hamilton was doing all day, and yeah, it could be problematic. And we know Hickson can run the ball, but yeah. So I'm a little concerned. I don't know the stat. We'll get into injuries later. I mean, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
I kind of just
did that, eh?
I mean, we don't know anything on Jackson Jeffcoat or anybody else that left the game in Hamilton, and we won't for another 5 or 6 days, right? Until Winnipeg returns to the practice field Monday or Tuesday. So,
and we don't know about Clemens, Kyrie Wilson. I mean, those guys, Mercy Maston, we assume is out for the
Kyrie's
season.
on the 6.
Yeah.
And if you're on the 6 and you've been on the 6 as long as Kyrie Wilson has, and he's still not practicing, don't hold your breath.
Yeah. So that'll be tough. That'll be tough. I hope at least Clemens comes back, because obviously I was critical of him a couple times, but he's definitely an upgrade, and no shade on Shane Gauthier. I have him signed on my jersey. Like, I love that guy. It's just, that's not his position. So anyway, that was my concern.
Yeah. He's been in the league 6 years. He's never been considered to start anywhere or consistently play downs. He will come in. Like when they had Kyrie Wilson, they would bring Shane Gauthier in on running downs,
right?
Just kind of like a bulk package, right? Or a jumbo package.
Sure.
Yeah. You know what? Somebody brought this up on the coaches show the other day. Dakota Prukop came into the game and he's doing kind of the
I heard that
Garrett Marino flexing, and one fan, or I imagine maybe some fans were saying like, why is he flexing? The ball, you guys are trailing in the game. Why is your backup quarterback coming in and flexing? That's big. We're going big package, right? Like flexing as in We're going to bring in a tight end. We're going to bring in an extra offensive lineman to play tight end. We're going to put a fullback in there. We're going big package, short yardage, wedge, right? That's kind of what this means.
Yeah,
Sometimes this is
exactly.
what quarterbacks do for a huddle. Like, let's huddle up, like bring it in.
Yeah.
So
no, that was a super
like
funny question. Yeah. Can you imagine someone on the Bombers getting away with that? Like there'd be Apple in a roadmap.
Well, that's exactly how Mike O'Shea responded.
Right.
He's like, I guarantee you our guys would not be doing that.
Exactly.
And I think that's a safe guarantee, because if you did, you'd be off the field. You'd probably be off to the locker room immediately. And I don't think you would ever pull on a piece of blue and white gear ever again, practice or game or otherwise.
So what I wanted to say about sober second thought was just a couple things. One, I couldn't find the word post game, Darren, about how to describe Schoen. I said he was a miracle. I think the word I was looking for was revelation. I think Schoen's a revelation. I mean, if you would have told me this guy would be leading the league in touchdowns and be, a horse on second down, the best on second down in the league, and would replace Greg Ellingson with this kind of production, I just think revelation comes to mind. I just wanted to say that. The other thing is, there was a couple other things. One was a 3 Down Nation article John Hodge did, and he does it some Wednesdays, not every Wednesday, but it's an insider's article. So he finds anonymous people to, coaches, GMs, player personnel, people like that, and players themselves. And they anonymously make comments. The one about Winnipeg today, and I'll quote it, is what Hamilton did to upset Winnipeg by 17 points was match their intensity. Winnipeg obviously has a lot of talent, but the way they win is with knowledge and effort. If you can match their intensity, you can beat them any day of the week. That's interesting. I want you to comment on that. And the other thing in this particular bit was Hamilton slowed down Winnipeg's pass rush. If you can give the quarterback time to pick it apart, their secondary is not great. So they're saying if you match our intensity, you can beat us any day of the week. And if you can slow down the pass rush, our secondary isn't great. I wanted to see what people on the chat thought about that and what you think about that, Darren. I don't know who said it.
Where do you want me to start?
Anywhere you want, buddy.
Well, I was trying to answer some of the people here in the live chat.
So he's saying if you match the intensity of the Bombers, you can beat them any day of the week. That was the first part.
O'Shea said that?
No. This was an anonymous player personnel or player or
I got you. Sorry,
from the insiders
call. I think what that statement is saying, this is just my take on it. First glance, if the Blue Bombers' strength is playing intense, playing consistent, and playing effective and sharp football, mistake-free, penalty-free, that sort of thing, they're hard to beat. If you can match their strength, which is an intensity level, anybody can win. That's football. That's what makes football so amazing to watch, is anybody can win any given Sunday. They've been saying it for years. Any given Friday night. That's my take. If you can match their intensity, you can beat them. Winnipeg is not impervious. Winnipeg is not infallible. They have weaknesses like many teams. We saw Hamilton take full advantage. Don't think the Bombers lost to Hamilton because they're injured. Sorry. Not the reason they lost. They lost because they made mistakes. They lost because they were facing a hot quarterback. They lost because Hamilton came out like a bat out of hell, and they won. They deserved to win.
Yeah, they did. I don't think our injuries helped, but yes, we made Zach threw picks. He was strip sacked for a touchdown.
That was huge. Right?
Evans was pinpoint, right?
Winnipegger Mason Bennett.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing this anonymous person said was if you slow down the pass rush, the secondary isn't great. I think that's, the Jeffcoat was gone pretty early, and we have backups in the secondary, and Alexander's not quite on his game. Yeah, sure. I don't have a problem with that. The other thing I just wanted to say was I was listening to the Herd podcast, and Colin Cowherd was interviewing Sean Payton, former brilliant offensive coach of the New Orleans Saints. And some of the things he said about the amount of preparation coaches do, Darren, gave me pause as someone who knows a fair bit about football, and sometimes, like I did last time on After Dark, question coaches' decisions. So I questioned Buck Pierce trying the same thing twice. In the first half, he tried a Dembski sweep with Prukop running. It didn't work. He tried the second thing in the second half on second down. Didn't love it. I thought it was a mistake and they read the mail. But then you listen to Sean Payton he was talking about how they prepare for red zone offense, Darren.
Okay.
And he literally said, and I'm saying literally to piss you off, they go back years in the week preparation. Let's say they're playing the Colts, your boys. They go back years to look at that coach's and that team's defensive tendencies in the red zone. They look at every 2-point play that they've ever done with that against a similar defense. They look at every red zone play. He looks at every red zone possession from the last week in the NFL from every single team. And they stay up and grind till the wee hours of the night. And it's like, yeah, sure, they can make mistakes. But how do I know Buck Pierce didn't have an excellent reason for trying that again? Maybe Hamilton had other personnel on the field. Who knows? We don't know the calls, and I'm certainly no X's and O's expert. So I know Buck's a good coach. I know he works hard, and he's talented. So I'm just not going to be so quick to maybe judge a play call from a good coach because they grind so much. And it's not because I felt bad. Oh, they work hard, I shouldn't criticize. It's not that. It's that they work smart.
Right.
They do their research. And it just blew my mind the amount of prep that they do. And as Waiter's saying here, sometimes it's just execution, right? Like there's just so many, it's almost frustrating as a fan because there's so many variables in football.
There's 12 guys on the field and then
Exactly.
12 guys lined up across from them, plus 5 or 6 officials on the field, and they're all human beings. That's why you never know what's going to happen. There's probability, there's likelihoods, there's strength versus weakness and all of that. But to go to what you're saying about Sean Payton, no question they dig into that because there's a universal truth in football. It's just like fashion in pop culture. Everything comes back into style. Everything has its day, then it's ugly and nobody uses it, and then it comes back one day. Oh, that looks good again. Whatever it is.
Sure.
And it's the ultimate game of 4D chess, right?
Exactly. 4D chess is brilliant. No, 4D, but it is though, Darren. Like there's 12 guys on each side. There's execution on either side. I mean, you look at polynomials, 12 guys could do 12 different things, 12 times 12, 12 times 11. Like there's just like millions of possibilities on a single play. I marvel at the brilliant minds that can game plan and go into halftime and make adjustments and manage the personalities. It's just, I felt a little bit humbled by that. To think that me as an armchair quarterback can go and judge a play that didn't work. It's hindsight bias, and I think that's why I love doing this show and just love being a fan, because sometimes I feel dumb. A lot of times I feel dumb, but there's so much to learn about it. It is so complicated, and because I love it, I keep wanting to learn. Right,
and that's the game, man.
That's the last thing I want to say. Is we often hear Mike O'Shea talking about his players, and when he compliments them, and he always compliments them, I mean, never throws them under a bus, but one thing he often says is they love football. And, I made a joke earlier in our tenure here, Darren, where if I was on the team and I sucked, which I would, because I'm not a pro athlete, he would say, if asked about me and I fumbled the ball 50 times in a game, he'd say, oh, Zach loves football. I jest, but I don't think we can underestimate how important that is.
Yeah.
In building a football culture.
Because if you want to be there, like the culture being you're accountable to your teammate, you want to play well for them, not your boss. I think I've said that on the show before. Like, who are you going to play harder for? Who are you going to work harder for? I don't care if you're a construction worker or a plumber or, in a cubicle in an office or whatever your job is. Who are you going to work harder for? The person that you're accountable to next to you doing the same job as you, that you guys, you rely on one another, or somebody who's barking orders from the top, somebody that is insulated from you, or you're insulated from them. Who are you going to play harder for? Who are you going to work harder for? The guy next to you, the gal next to you. That's who you're going to work harder for. Totally. And then when you talk about the being passionate and loving the game of football, and that being a big part of the Blue Bombers draft process and an evaluation process of prospects, and probably American prospects too. If you want to play, you're going to be more resilient. You're going to work harder. You're going to stay focused, because you're not going to be like, wow, I'm 28 years old and now I'm benched. I guess I could go back and talk to Uncle Jimmy and, maybe he can get me a job. And no, it's the guy that's like, I want to play football. I'm only 28 years old. I've got 7 more years in me at least. Yeah. Like, what do I got to do? Do I got to hit the gym more? Do I got to hit the books more? Do I got to go in the film room? Do I got to talk to a teammate? Do I got to sit down with the coach? What do I got to do? Yeah. That's the guy you want. That's the culture Winnipeg has tried to instill.
And those are the guys that come off, show up to IG Field in the bowels there and watch video at 5 a.m. because they love it. They love picking it apart. They love finding any edge. And you told me something as we were just talking about the show this week, Darren, that when you love the game, you're going to come back even stronger after a loss. You're going to be more resilient because you're going to be frustrated and pissed off and hurts, but you're so fascinated by learning about football that you're going to look back and say, hey, well, what did they do to beat us this week? It's so interesting. I'm going to try and incorporate this. Let's talk about this scheme and what they did. And let's, look at our weaknesses and look in the mirror. And it's just, it's just a really cool thing that I think we sometimes don't give enough credit to the Bombers, because if they have 2 people of equal talent, they're gonna pick the guy that is just obsessed with football, and loves it. And I think that is why you're seeing what you're seeing. And and just you can't judge a book by its cover just with watching play calls and saying I'm the worst for it. And Logan and the boys know that, and Steve and I'll be like, run the ball, Buck. What the hell are you doing? Like in the heat of the moment, but I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just a fan. Sure, they need my money and my vigor, but
your dedication,
my dedication, right? It's like when I'm at the park with my kids, right? And I'll see a bunch of siblings like just beating the crap out of each other, and dad or mom is just on their phone, and I'm just like, the first reaction is like, oh, come on, get off your phone, be a good parent. But it's like, you don't know what kind of day they had. Right. Yep. They might be texting a sick uncle. Like they might have been with the kids all day and they've just had it. The kids might just be being jerks that day. Right. You got to take a step back, I think, when evaluating football. Anyway, that's all for me. I wanted to talk a little bit about this Joe Pop thing, if you don't mind.
Okay, but we do have to get to the practice roster expansion, the future depth. We still have to make our NFL picks.
I know.
And I got a bunch of these. I got a bunch of Cody's to rip up.
Okay, well,
I'll do that now.
Do that now. I just want to throw out a comparison to folks here who are watching, and of course, thank you to everyone who's watching and participating. That's why we do this, and we love it. We just love it. Tao Zen. I like the person who said I retired because I was tired.
Yes, that was good.
Okay, so Joe Pop, we were talking about Ring of Honor last midweek, Darren. I'll make this really short, just like me. Talking about guys like you really have to set records. You have to win championships. You have to be all-star, whatever. Joe Poplawski, 549 receptions for his career for 8,341 yards. He's third all-time among Bombers receivers, behind only Milt and Murphy, James Murphy, right? 5-time CFL All-Star. He won a Grey Cup in '84. most outstanding rookie, 2 most outstanding Canadians, and was a finalist for the most outstanding Canadian 3 other times. Like, that is the caliber of player you have to be in the Ring of Honor. And I just looked at that and I was like, wow, like that is just an embarrassment of riches in terms of accolades, right? And then I thought about Nick Dembski, right? So he's been in the league since 2015. He was a guy sort of on our bubble. He's 28 years old. So let's say he has 4 or 5 years left. So Joe Pop finishes with 8,341 yards. I don't know that he ran the ball particularly, but I know Nick Dempsey does. So let's throw in I threw in his rushing yards. So he's got about 3,500 yards since 2015. And keep in mind, he wasn't played much in the first year of his career with the Riders and was used sort of sparingly. He's got 20 TDs already. He's been the most outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup. In 2021, it was kind of his breakout year. He was a CFL PA All-Star and a Western All-Star. Most outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup, like I said. But if we use Joe Poplawski as a benchmark, as a Canadian receiver, Nick Dembski has a ways to go. He's got to get some more All-Star nods. He's got to win most outstanding Canadian, I think, at least once. He's got the Grey Cups already. But the question is, if he's going to be a Wall of Honor guy, he's got to, get about 3,500 to 4,000 more yards, and he's 28. And the question is, can he do it? I just on face value, just looking at those numbers, I think he could. I do think he could. I think if they keep guys like Zach Collaros, and we're going to talk about this in the second with, are they going to be able to replenish their O-line with even, Stanley Bryant, DeMarcus Hardrick, Pat Neufeld, those guys getting older, right? Can he do it? And I think Nick Dembski does have a chance to be a Wall of Honor guy. That's all I'm going to say. Anyone's thoughts on that? I would be super curious. Tell me a little bit about Joe Pop. I'm hearing he's a possession receiver, never had a handoff. He caught everything. If you're up there with Milt and James Murphy, like, my goodness, you deserve to be in the Ring of Honor. So what do you think, Darren?
I was having a conversation with Chris Walby, I don't know, a month or two ago, about who the Ring of Honor inductee this year could be.
Okay.
And we do know that they want to enshrine certain individuals first because they're still around.
Yes.
And they're still able to enjoy the moment. There are others like that are, gone now that couldn't come and enjoy it. Someone like Joe Pop can definitely come and enjoy it. And Joe Pop was like in the group of 3 or 4 people we were talking about to go into the Ring of Honor, and like in 2022. And I asked Chris what was so great about Joe Pop, like what was his claim, and he said consistent. Like some of the people in the chat saying he caught everything thrown his way. He always did. Like, he was just consistent. Probably not a superstar, but very, very, very good. And it amazes me that he won most outstanding Canadian in 1986. That was his last year.
Was it really?
Like, talk about going out on high, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I just want to mention this. Look at this. This first pack I opened. Okay. Look. Argo.
What the heck?
Argo. And then Ernest Edwards, who I don't think is an Argo, is he? He might be.
I don't know. He didn't play for Calgary, so he can't be an Argo now, can he?
Right. Go check out Joe Daly's on St. Mary's. There's the address and the phone number below. 513 St. Mary's Road. Joe Daly's Sports Cards and Custom Framing. Awesome people. Cool to just go there and hang out. And I think last week, was it last week, maybe the week before, they had Adam Lowry in signing autographs from like 6 to 8 p.m. So
yeah, super cool.
Pop in, talk to them, and you might, these opportunities do come up, but very cool stuff there at Joe Daly's, and just awesome people. Joe, Travis, big shout out to you guys. Go check them out. I got the website here too. Well,
There
you'll
you
be able
go.
to Google it because there's only one Joe Daly, right?
There's only one Joe Daly, baby. The only other thing I'll say about Dembski is he is projected to get better, right? Like he's gotten better each and every season. And I think this season he's having even more of a career year than last season, Darren. He's kind of become a 1A or 1B receiver on this team. And he can do everything, which Joe Pop couldn't. So I just think I think there's a chance, and I would like to see it. I would really like to see it. He's gotten over the dropsies that he used to have. Anyway, just
Autograph.
Ooh, David Beard,
One of the
hometown
best.
guy that was unceremoniously
That's
shipped
the
out.
highest. Sorry, that's the highest paid player, offensive lineman in the league, right there.
Is that right?
That's right.
I got to get me some cards. I love these things. I want to put them up. I
What do we got
have them
here?
at my office.
Oh, another
Preston
Argo.
Butler.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cresden Butler. Is
Yeah.
he
There's
still
a
in the
name.
league?
I don't know. I didn't think
Me
so. He was a
neither.
former rider, right?
Yep. There's one of the top DBs over the last 5 years.
Oh, that's a great shot too. Catching an interception. Deshaun Amos, another Argo. Isn't he an Argo now?
He is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. So that's our latest 4 packs. We're going to continue
Sweet.
to crack these packs every week on the show. And I'm going to compile all the Bombers and former Bombers cards. Like we got an Enoch Mwamba today. No actual Bomber players or current Bomber players in the group, but I'm going to compile all of those. I'm going to try to get them autographed and then give them out as a prize. I think that would be pretty
sweet.
Cool.
That
Yeah.
would be super cool. You'd be in a position to do it. So you want to talk practice roster and injuries?
Let's just touch on this because you know, we got a lot to get to today. So we talked about Cam Judge, Joe Pop, Drew Desjardins. I do want to mention this because this kind of segues into it. Asked earlier, I thought I saved it here, but yeah, someone was asking if Drew Desjardins is still on an NFL team. He was released by the New England Patriots out of training camp. He then signed to the New Orleans Saints practice roster. They released him earlier this week. Drew Desjardins is a free agent. However, Zach, what do we expect of somebody who was just released from the NFL like Drew Desjardins, who's still very, very young?
Well, I have learned from you, my friend, that they're going to stick around. We talked about this with Strevler even. You know, he got cut from 3-4 teams and now he's with the Jets, right? So yeah, I see him unfortunately sticking around in the NFL. He's a young guy and he's talented. So good on him. I mean, we could probably use him. Some people are sort of iffy on Jeff Gray. I'm not knowledgeable enough to be able to evaluate Jeff Gray's play, but I mean, we haven't
on almost anybody in the league. Drew Desjardins.
Yeah, I mean, he's an elite player.
And the Saints, right?
Yeah.
So the practice roster. Sorry, as I pick some lint.
You got some lint on you? Oh, you can't have lint.
So the practice roster in the Canadian Football League can expand. I believe it's following Labor Day. You can have a 30-day window where you can expand your practice roster by X amount of players. I think it's 8, might be 10. Forgive me. But you'll see the Winnipeg Blue Bombers sign players starting now. They started just the other day. They signed 2 offensive linemen. And that really leads into what I wanted to talk about, Zach, and that's the contingency plan, the plan for the future. Where are the position groups Winnipeg needs to acquire talent? Coming into this season, it was receiver. It was where else were they looking?
DB.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I shared this with some people the other day. A universal truth. I know I use that term a lot on this show, but in the Canadian Football League is you got to find a starting DB every year.
Yeah.
Every year you got to find a new starting defensive back. Every team in the league does. You have to find that guy. Winnipeg has been very good at that over the last number of years. Demerio Houston, Mario Alford, Dietrich Nichols. Winston Rose was kind of off the scrap heap. He was third or fourth team in 3 years.
Yeah.
Brandon Alexander, Kevin
Mercy.
Fogg.
Mercy Maston, Nick Taylor, guys that were sort of vets in the league that I'd never heard of much, and they come in here and kill it.
Both Edmonton players too.
Yeah.
So people are chiming in now. What position groups do you feel Winnipeg needs to target going towards the future? I will say this with all due respect to the individuals, because they are all-star and Hall of Fame caliber. Okay. Adam Bighill is approaching his mid-30s, still playing at an unbelievable level. Stanley Bryant, Jamarcus Hardrick,
Pat Neufeld.
Yes. Kyrie Wilson and Malik Clements, went through their injuries this year. Does that mean they're edging towards the end of their career? No, but you want talent to be able to step in. Jesse Briggs, Shane Gauthier, they've been in the league a long time.
Mike Miller, even, right? Like these guys have been around.
The killer, right? Offensive tackle for me is the position group I've seen Winnipeg already doing work to bolster. And by that, I mean, they've been at this for over a year already, maybe 2. Stanley Bryant is a Hall of Famer. He will be in the Blue Bombers Ring of Honor and the Blue Bombers Hall of Fame. He'll be in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Jamarcus Hardrick is in that conversation as well. Hardrick is 32 years old. Okay. And Stanley Bryant, why am I blanking on him? Stanley Bryant, I'm just looking it up here. Oh my gosh.
Come on, Greg.
Stanley Bryant is, wow. Stanley Bryant he was born in 1986.
Oof.
So he's 36. Okay.
And Neufeld is 33. So these guys are getting up there, right?
Right. So what has Winnipeg done? Well, they have Drew Richmond, who is a very highly touted, maybe not touted, but highly respected offensive line prospect that Winnipeg has worked tooth and nail to keep in Winnipeg. He's on the 6-game injured list, was not healthy for training camp this year, was not healthy for a lot of last year. He's just kind of been hanging around. He's one of those guys Winnipeg sees as a potential heir apparent, right? Tyler Witt was one of the individuals they signed this week. Who was the other two? But this is the other individual I think Winnipeg really likes at offensive tackle, and that's Eric Lofton. He's on the practice roster, was new to the team, I believe, this year. He's very quick feet for a big man. Very quick feet. He's fun to watch and practices hard. I think he's one of those guys that Winnipeg, along with Drew Richmond, like that could be the new bookends protecting Zach Collaros as early as next year.
It's weird to even think of it, buddy.
I have no inside information. If Stanley Bryant wants to come back and play for a 13th season in the CFL and 8th with the Blue Bombers next year, he's going to, and he's going to start.
Yeah.
But if they need to move on, I think it's Eric Lofton. I think it's Drew Richmond.
It's hard to even think of that, eh?
I know, right?
It's hard for me to even think of that. I mean, it's just some ages of some other guys. Mike Miller is 33. Jake Thomas is 31. Now, Greg's saying Zach Collaros is 34. I think quarterback is a little bit of a different animal. You see guys like Henry Burris playing into their 40s. Am I wrong about that? I mean, I think they get hit less. They don't tackle people. It's not as physical a position. I think if it's not as
physically rigorous.
Yeah, it doesn't wear your body down maybe as much. And I think I see Collaros, if he's healthy, playing quite a while. That being said, it's sort of contingent on the health of the O-line and how they replenish that, Darren. That's super interesting. what you're saying. I'd never heard you need a new DB every year. Is it just because it's the CFL and it's a passing league and DBs are a dime a dozen or they get injured? Like, what is that about? Is it just a thing?
Yeah, I mean that's football. Sometimes really good players retire early.
Yeah.
Like Luke Kuechly and Patrick Willis, two linebackers that were at the peak of their game in the National Football League and decided to retire before they were the
Yeah.
age of 30. So offensive tackle, receiver, defensive back, linebacker, and defensive tackle, especially
Yeah.
Canadian defensive tackle. The drafting of
Was it Lawson or Adamson?
yes, Cole Adamson of the
Yeah.
Manitoba Bisons, and
Yeah.
back with the Bisons this year.
Yeah.
He is a very large, very athletic man. He's impressive. To go back to school and play a lot of downs, I think was smart of the Blue Bombers to do with him, and smart for him as well. But you're right, Cameron Lawson was only drafted a couple years ago. How
Yeah.
old is he? He was born in 1998. It's his second year
Oh my
in
God.
the league.
It's a baby.
So those guys are going to be pushing for, as the contingency behind Jake Thomas.
Yeah.
Casey Sales, like it seems every year or two, the Blue Bombers have a new American defensive tackle. It was Steven Richardson. It was Brandon Bryant. It was Poop Johnson.
Yeah.
Remember Corey Poop Johnson?
I do.
Poop. They're always
Poop
trying
flew
to
the
find that
coop.
next guy.
Poop
Right?
flew the coop. I don't know where he ended up in Toronto, and then he was gone. Like
Yeah.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
no,
Instagram is insane.
Sales been impressive. Ricky Walker. So yeah, and we know that they definitely have the next generation of talent in running back with Oliveira and Augustine, and who knows, maybe they go back to get Kyle Borsa, or they continue to draft people. Like they've got Drew Brown, who you're very high on as maybe the future of that position. So kicker, I think, Leggio is extremely young, and sometimes he gets the boo birds, but I think I'm pretty confident to say I'm fairly optimistic with his trajectory, Darren. So I mean, those are some positions of strength. Dietrich Nichols is just, I mean, that's going to be a stud on our DB core for a long time. Receiver, I think they're good. Like you look like Wolotarski. Some people compared him to Joe Pop. If he's kind of getting a little bit older, you've got Brendan O'Leary Orange there, right? Who's played great.
I like what I've seen from him.
Yeah, and you can find American receivers, I think, fairly easily. So
like Winnipeg,
maybe not.
Was struggling. Winnipeg,
they
was
were, but they were taking guys off
for
the
a long
scrap
time.
heap. They were taking guys off the scrap heap, but now they found Lawler, they find Rasheed Bailey, they find Dalton Schoen, the revelation, as I call him. So, but yeah, it is. It's an interesting conversation, right? Because here we are in the bye week, and good as time as any to look to the future. So, we'll see what happens. Like.
Love this comment from Bob, man. Leggio for student council, and the spelling of Leggio out of the park.
There you go.
Bob, man. Well done. Leggyo. Leggio. Love it.
Someone in the chat, maybe it was Bob, man, said that they think Adam Bighill will retire after this season. I never thought of that.
I would never speak to somebody doing that.
No, I know.
Mike O'Shea. Mike O'Shea's actually advised players, like, don't ever sign your retirement papers, because then it's done.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Speaking of which, Kyrie Seabear will sign a one-day contract with the Montreal Alouettes to retire an Alouette. Your thoughts out there? What do you think of Kyrie Seabear retiring an Alouette, not a Blue Bomber?
Well, how long was he with the Bombers versus the Alouettes?
4 years? Yeah, no, definitely with the Alouettes longer.
Yeah,
but
he won Grey Cups with them, didn't he?
What a killer of a player, man!
I remember him smoking people, like just clobbering people.
Yeah,
people.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Do you want to get to our NFL?
Yeah, let's do it, buddy. Let's talk a little pigskin to the south.
Yeah. So interesting week 3 in the National Football League. There are some games I am definitely going to stay away from. Not because it's like one team is better than the other, uh, or one team, like they're evenly matched. It's more I'm staying away from them because I don't know who they are yet. You know what I mean?
That's
But
early,
this is
right?
what you want to do. Go to sia.com/bonfire. sia.com/bonfire. Go there, sign up, make a deposit. They will double it 100% in bet credits. Then you got like a month and a half almost to use those bet credits as if they're cash. So you're already starting way ahead with SIA, and you can
Mm-hmm.
bet on anything: NFL, NHL, CFL, NCAA, NBA. Obviously, with hockey starting up, you're going to be able to do that. There's prop bets, there's futures. If you're new to it, no worries. Text the hotline 816-8477, 204-816-TIPS, and I will help you. It's not too difficult, but you want to use that link, sia.com/bonfire. Week 3 in the NFL starts on Thursday. Pittsburgh in Cleveland. This game makes me nervous, Zach. I don't know if I want to touch these primetime games because we've seen blowouts or upsets.
Mm-hmm.
These primetime games so far this year. The Sunday, what was it? The Monday Night Football 2-for-1?
Yeah.
Both games were crap.
Yeah,
But
they
both
were.
games had huge quarterback performances. So, take it for what it is. But I'm not touching Pittsburgh, Cleveland.
No.
Sunday, Baltimore at New England with the Ravens favored by 2.5. I'm very high on the Baltimore Ravens, but in New England, that dual threat quarterback in Lamar Jackson against Bill Belichick, I'm just not. Normally, I would be all over that. I would be all over a 2.5 point line. I don't want to touch that one. Maybe I'll play a money line. We'll see.
Bill Belichick is a genius with running quarterbacks. You've seen what they've done to Russell Wilson and Patrick
Yes.
Mahomes, and yeah, he's a
What did
genius.
you think of Tua Tagovailoa this past week?
Well,
Came out of his shell.
yeah, maybe, but I still hear pundits like Colin Cowherd and other folks saying that he has a very low ceiling. He can and that all his throws were schemed and they were easy throws. So I think he's a guy that if the Dolphins, I don't know, was it Turkinator who's a Dolphins fan? Someone on here was saying their Dolphins are relevant, which is great. That's great for the Finns, but I don't know if Tua is going to take you over the top. I think if the receivers are getting open and he has makeable throws, from what I've heard, he doesn't have much of an arm. He can get you to the playoffs and maybe win some games, but
He doesn't have a big arm, but he is accurate, which is
well, that
impressive for a
matters.
younger
That
quarterback.
matters. They've got
And
some talent on that
well,
team, though. My
that's
goodness.
the thing. Like Devontae Parker used to be their big target.
Yeah.
He's elsewhere now. I think he's in New England, actually. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
correct me, Gregory.
Well, he's got Tyreek Hill, right? Like, what was it?
Yeah, no,
190
Tyreek
yards.
Hill is a game
Crazy.
changer. They paid him $1 zillion and just to get him.
Yeah.
And to have him and Waddle.
Yeah.
Like,
Jalen
you see the
Waddle.
touchdown celebration? He does the waddle. Love that. Those two are both burners. Like,
Yeah.
you have two guys like that with that Tyreek Hill speed. That's very hard to guard. So Buffalo in Miami. I don't know if Miami is good or not yet. So that
Yeah.
6-point line scares me. That game screams field goal, 4-point difference.
Well,
me.
and yeah, like I don't know if I see Buffalo just trucking teams again and again and again, right? Like
They didn't
maybe
punt
they
for
will.
like 3 games.
Maybe they will, but
Yeah.
this is an in-division game. These teams know each other. I never pick in-division games in the NFL. I just never do it in terms of betting.
Gregory, the guy was wearing Devontae Parker. Bob man, $1 zillion with inflation is now the purchasing power of 10 million. That's about right. Have you looked at the Canadian dollar lately?
Yeah.
I digress. Cheers.
Our TSB mugs.
But this brings us to a game that I am going to put some money on SIA.com/bonfire. And that's Cincinnati at the New York Jets. Cincinnati is favored by 5. And I like Cincinnati to cover. I think they can win by 2 field goals. I think they can win by a touchdown. The Jets are scrappy, like really scrappy.
Yeah, what a comeback, eh?
Yeah, and Joe Flacco is doing things nobody's expecting. He's throwing the ball like 50 plus times a game. I think Cincinnati will get back on track against a weaker opponent in the New York Jets, but it's going to be a fight. So I like the 5-point line. If it was 6, I don't know if I would take it. But I like Cincinnati to cover 5 points.
Turk is agreeing. He's saying the Bengals are due. I mean, Super Bowl hangover, eh? Like these guys have lost to Dallas. I mean, geez, I didn't see that coming, but O-line issues continue to haunt them, and I hope they come back to the fore because I do like tortured fan bases like the Bengals. So I hope they cash in for you, buddy.
Yep. Well, we're going to look back on it next week. Detroit in Minnesota in a NFC North, the Norris division. Detroit is a 6-point dog on the road in Minnesota. The Vikes obviously coming off a pretty tough loss in prime time this past week.
It's Kirk Cousins prime time. What do you expect?
Yeah, I know. It's like,
is he the Trevor Harris of the NFL?
Yeah.
Is he like under the lights?
Yeah.
Not so great. He gets hit, he folds, puts up big numbers and stats at times, but doesn't have the wins and the championships. I don't know. He kind of reminds me of Trevor Harris. Maybe it's just me.
So you're not touching that game either, right, Zach? We haven't come up to the ones you're picking?
Not yet. We're getting there.
We're getting there. Houston in Chicago. And I didn't even know who the starting quarterback of the Houston Texans was. And then I was like, Zach, you helped me out. You're like, David Mills. And I'm like,
David Mills, baby.
Guy there last year. It's amazing the quarterbacks in the NFL this year. It's almost like they came out of a bingo hopper.
I know.
New guys are everywhere. But with the Bears favored by 2.5, I love the cover for the Bears at home.
Yeah.
Houston, I just don't think they're a team that is going to travel well, especially to an outdoor field like Chicago. So that's my second bet. I got Cincinnati cover 5 points at New York, the Jets, and I've got Chicago at home to cover 2.5. Kansas City is at Indianapolis, and my lowly Colts are 5.5-point dogs to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Now you're getting to my picks. And just for reference, folks, we started this last week. I'm 0-1 because I picked KC to cover by 4. They only won by 3 against the Chargers. Darren's 1-1. He picked Arizona, the Desert Dogs, and the Desert Dog fight, and they had that amazing come from behind win against the Raiders. And you lost on the Carolina versus the Giants, but I think most people would have picked Carolina. So I'm 0-1. You're 1-1. We're both picking 2. I don't know what we want to do with that record, but we'll figure it out. I've got KC covering that. I think the Colts are a tire fire. I think Matt Ryan is done.
They can't seem to get Jonathan Taylor going.
Yeah, when you get shut out by the Jaguars, like I know it's just one game, but. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert about the NFL, but I just look at Kansas City and what they can do offensively, and they can take a team out early. Matt Ryan doesn't seem to be a guy that can come back. He's sort of a mid-range sort of possession guy. That team's going to run the ball. I just think, or they'll try to run the ball. I think KC at least wins by a touchdown. So that's one of mine. And then I've got San Francisco.
Hang on.
What? Aren't they the next one? No? Go ahead. No. Sorry.
That's okay. Las Vegas in Tennessee. The Raiders are 2-point favorites in Tennessee. The Titans looked atrocious in prime time, just turning the ball over and not being able to keep pace. The New Orleans Saints, what a snoozer, weird game that was against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers this past week. The Saints, 3-point favorites in Carolina. Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts. Holy cow.
Hello.
If he can keep this going, look out, NFC East Division. The Eagles are in Washington to face the Commanders. The Eagles
Yes.
are 6.5-point favorites. That's a pretty healthy line.
On the road in
maybe a little bit of
division,
hype on that Jalen Hurts train. Jaguars are 7-point dogs coming off that monster win against the lowly Colts. I'm going to say lowly Colts a whole bunch this season.
Sorry, buddy.
Jaguars 7-point dogs in Los Angeles to Justin Herbert and the Chargers. I mean, if you really like the Chargers, I could see them covering 7. I really could. And then in one of the later games, Atlanta is in Seattle. That game is, I think it's at like 1 point, nearly a pick 'em. So that's an opportunity right there to get your money. Like it's pretty much a money line odd,
basically,
minus 110 or minus 109. So that's an interesting one. Green Bay travels down to Tampa. Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, and the Bucks are home favorites by 1 point. Rams are in Arizona to face
I hate. Can I just say again, I just cannot stand Aaron Rodgers. Maybe if I grew up in his screwed up family, I'd be like him. I mean, I just think this guy is such a doofus. I hope they get curb stomped by my boy Brady and the Bucks. I just hope they get absolutely smoked. I love it.
Tom Brady. That's just me. I'm a Colts guy.
That's fair.
Yeah, so Rams are 3-point favorites in Arizona. Now the San Francisco 49ers are in Denver, Zach.
Yeah, so Denver is a team, they at first I was a little bit excited because they were getting Russell Wilson. And then from what I'm hearing, like Russell Wilson just doesn't have the same escapability he used to have. Now he's more of a pocket passer. And the coaching in Denver has been atrocious. They took all of their timeouts at home. They still won the game, but they took all their timeouts on just BS, like lack of preparedness, stuff you never see. Guys just not lined up, not enough guys on the field. They look atrocious. And I think San Francisco is a well coached team. I think Garoppolo gave them a bit of a spark. You see the touchdown celebration, that first touchdown he threw. I just think Kyle Shanahan going up against a guy who's kind of a clown, who's going to hear a lot of boos if anything goes wrong. It's kind of like a bonfire, or just waiting for some gasoline. And and I think San Francisco will get hot and will roll them. So it's not a big line. That's my second pick.
Okay, so to wrap the week, we have Dallas in New York, MetLife, to face the Giants. That's the Monday nighter. I wouldn't touch that game with a 10-foot pole.
I won't even watch that game.
Giants are 1-point favorites at home.
Who's the quarterback for Dallas now? I just can't stand Jerry Jones.
Something Chase? I can't remember.
Not Jamar Chase. He's a receiver.
Yes,
anyway.
So that's NFL Week 3. To recap, I've got Cincinnati to cover 5 at the New York Jets, and Chicago to cover 2.5 at home to visiting Houston. Zach, you've got Kansas City to cover 5.5 in Indianapolis, and San Francisco to go into Denver and cover 1.5.
Okay.
And I think SIA.com/bonfire. Head there now. You can drop money on the Jets to win the Central Division if you are so inclined.
I don't think so. Maybe if I had some extra money, I wanted to donate to SIA.com. I'd do that for sure. I'm sorry.
You effectively can donate, because you can go there, make a deposit up to $500, and they're going to match it 100%.
Listen,
So
I'm not a huge betting guy, but I've had a great time on SIA. Easy to take out your money, easy to verify your identity. Like some websites are just trash with that, and they
yeah.
give you the runaround. It's a Canadian company and Indigenous owners, which I think is super cool and something you want to
Mhm.
support. And it's fun. It's entertainment, right? And you can
Yeah.
try and keep up with DB and I in the NFL. I'm no NFL expert. I kind of watch the highlights, maybe watch a game a week, listen to a couple podcasts, but it's a fun thing. It's the Vegas spectacle that the CFL unfortunately isn't, but hey, it's fun to watch, right?
Let's do rapid fire right now on the 3 CFL games you can find on sia.com/bonfire.
All right, like
Ticats
it.
at Alouettes. The Birds favored by 2.5.
Uh, it's hard for me because, like, do you want to jump on the Ticats bandwagon? They've now seen the film on Dane Evans playing well. They're still without Simone Lawrence. They're still without who's the DT? They're the defensive, not Ted Laurent. They're without one of their Dylan Wynn, sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know that one. Like part of me wants to say Hamilton is the phoenix that rises from the ashes, but I
Montreal's
don't
coming
want
off
to.
a bye.
Yeah,
Hamilton's coming off an emotional win
yeah,
and a high, but both of these teams are their season is on the line. I would be more inclined to do a money line bet on this,
yeah. Agree.
plus 120 for the Ticats. Um, I think I could still take the Ticats plus 2.5.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, I don't want to jump on the bandwagon, but I do think just based on what Dane Evans said and how he played, and he's not going to probably throw 5 touchdowns again, but he beat the best team in the league. Like he made a mockery of our defense. Yes, they're going on the road, but hey, they're a well-coached team. You've talked about this from the very beginning. So 2.5 isn't a huge number in the CFL. I would be happy to take that.
Okay.
Although Montreal has a pretty good pass rush as the Bombers saw close up. So yeah, I could see taking the 2.5.
Yeah. Jeff Kabila is saying, aren't the Ticats number 2 on my power ranking? Well, yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe
Maybe.
number 1 now. Let's
Oh,
see.
yeah. Right. Okay. Let's actually do rapid fire here.
All
Argos
right.
in Ottawa to face the Red Blacks. Argos 2.5 point favorites.
Take that any day of the week. It's hard to know with the Argos sometimes what you're going to get, but Macbeth can be a little bit up and down. But they're well coached. They have a solid lineup, best Canadian depth in the CFL. I see them. I see them running away. I think Ottawa is just broken at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like Toronto to cover 2.5. Watch the injury wire, CFL.ca. You can find the injury reports on the daily heading into the game. Stamps, Lions, grudge match, and the
Oh, that's the
Legos
one.
just a 1 point favorite at home
Yeah.
after beating Calgary at McMahon a week earlier. I like the Stamps.
Yeah, I can't see the Stamps losing to BC 3 times. I know they give up a lot of pass yards, but they're just a smartly coached team. I love the defense with Brett Monson. I think Vernon Adams can be rattled. I think he can be he gives up a lot of sacks. He likes to throw the ball up because he's got these amazing receivers that like Burnham and Rhymes and Whitehead that can go up and make catches, but I just don't see Calgary losing 3 times and back to back. I would take the Stamps on this one.
So, congratulations to our prize winners from this past week, Reed Maddox and Jason Gilmore. Jason is in Dauphin, and I wanted to ship the mug to him, but it's like $25 to ship it to him. So I've texted Jason. Hopefully, we can connect in the city or somewhere nearby. Whew, pricey for shipping these
Pricey.
days. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, I could use a little Amazon Prime right now. We
Yes,
have a
yes.
new prize to give away, courtesy of the Sports Vault, and it's
Oh,
another
yeah,
one of
baby.
these beauties.
Yeah, those are gorgeous.
There. Oh, I got it upside down. So these are super insulated mugs. Zach, you and I use these all the time, but
Every
this
show, every
is
day I
not a
use it.
sticker. This is like raised,
Yeah.
high quality, embossed, and then of course, beautiful bomber mug with the fancy lid and the works. And you can get yourself a couple cups of coffee in that sucker,
Yes.
or maybe a nice
I
tall
always
boy,
do.
nice in the to keep things cold as well. We need a code word. How about text the hotline right now, 204-816-TIPS, 204-816-8477. Text your name, first and last name, and the code word NFL. Do that now.
All
One
right.
mention. That's all we do.
Of course, you can get beautiful Winnipeg-made TSV, the Sports Vault apparel at the Bomber Store, which is your #1 spot, but also Amazon Fanatics. And they're also all over the place, right, Darren? So Canadian-made, global license, NFL, college, CFL, MLB, whatever you want. Great people over there and great stuff. And I think this might be our last prize from TSV. Who won the other one? Do we know yet? The other insulated mug from last week?
Yes, it was Reed Maddox.
Oh, that was Reed Maddox. Okay.
Yeah, and then Jason Gilmore won the I've got it all packed up in bubble wrap and ready to ship.
Oh,
And then it's like,
buddy.
25, like somebody says here, $25. Corey May says that's 2 days pay. Yeah, nearly.
Seriously. Especially when I take care of my son, I get during a weekday, it's like $12.50 a day. My wife gives me just a little bit of an allowance just to go to Superstore maybe or 7-Eleven and get something.
So the texts are already coming in, and we got some email entries last time. So
nice.
if you can't text, email wpgsports@gmail.com. Want to mention this. I got a text today from Jerpair. Says, "Hi DB, Jerpair. My name is pronounced Jerpair. Instead of bringing in or looking for a cornerback or a halfback, do you think the Bombers shuffle the backfield a little bit? Thompson played great for BA, should be getting more reps, maybe play weak side linebacker. I don't think Brandon Alexander is going to play weak side linebacker. Could you move Brandon Alexander, Thompson to safety, Nick Hallett to halfback? I don't know about that, but change things up without changing the ratio. The Bombers have started up to 9 Canadians this season. They normally start 8. They're going to be okay if they need to make a change and play another American somewhere. But right now, it's coming down to health. The Canadians are healthy. The Americans are hurt. So maybe Brandon Alexander to a different position. We'll see how that shakes out. I will say
interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, many times, especially American coaches in the CFL, will hide their Canadians in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle, middle linebacker, safety.
Yeah.
Just a thought. But
yeah.
You got a final thought, Zach, as we wrap things up here?
Yeah, I mean, Tao Zen is saying he's going to pay for shipping. Now, Tao Zen, or Steve, as I know you on Facebook, does that mean you're going to pay for this one, for the Dolphin shipping, or only if you win the prize? Are you going to make a donation? No, great show, DB. Love everyone in the chat, and good luck to whoever gets this beautiful mug, because I swear to God, I use it I use it for coffee. I use it for bubbly water, even beer. I frequently wash it, but I only hand wash it, and look forward to talking.
I wish everyone could see that. Like it's so high quality. Like, look at that. That's not a sticker.
I literally saw the guys in the shop there putting those decals on, and the steadiest hands I've ever seen. Seriously. It's nice to have a bye week, just sort of kick back, allow the Bombers to get healthy. That's maybe the biggest thing that they need right now, and enjoy the other games, and enjoy the NFL, get on SIA, have some fun there. Even if you just put $20 down, folks, it's great entertainment, and you can compete with us. And I think, Darren, just the last thing is there should be a prize between you and me. Whoever wins and whoever loses, like, does the loser have to take the other one out for dinner, drinks? Does a winner get something? Does the loser have to wear a Riders jersey, or does the loser have to wear a Ticats a jersey or something? Anyway,
I like dinner. I think dinner is a good thing. You want to do that on like our NFL picks this year?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think
we'll start from scratch today.
Yeah.
We'll start from scratch today because you only picked one game last week. I picked 2. I finished 1-1, and you were 0-1.
Yeah.
Watch it. We'll start
okay.
fresh.
All right. That's very nice of you.
Okay.
Very
All
nice
right.
of you. And also, just quick
Once in a
update.
while. Once in a
Just
while.
yeah, you're a good guy. Pick'em, Ryan Harris, aka Tedley, too, is still up by like 300 points on C. Diddick, and our buddy Cade is falling back. He's got 8,000 points, Bomber history. So it's really a 2-horse race at this point between Tedley 2 and C. Diddick. And then in our fantasy league for the MCW, I think that's Mikey McMikeface on Twitter. I'm not sure, but I think he confirmed that he is winning by 0.7. Hold on a second. No, 1.7 points over NGLFA and NGLAF
Great race.
705. So, and then Parker East is right up there. Tedley 2 is right up there. And our buddy Cooper Trooper 42 from the Canadian Football Countdown podcast. Great show. If you want to check them out, they do live as well with the chat. So, it's getting there. And of course, we have prizes for the winners of those leagues too, buddy.
Yes.
So
Beauty prizes too.
Beauty.
No teasers, but
Yeah.
man, they're nice prizes.
They are nice prizes.
You're gonna like them.
Good to see you too, DB. And buddy, I guess we'll have to wait a week, right? We got no game. It's so sad.
Yeah, I can't even get a hold of Walby. He's off the grid.
Yeah,
No game
finally.
day Winnipeg, no game day after dark, but there will be Jets hockey
Yes.
content on Bonfire Sports. So keep it locked to the YouTube channel, to my Twitter, to Instagram at bonfire.sports. Of course, twitter.com/Darren Bombing. You'll be able to find all of the stuff there. But this was a fun show, Zach. Looking forward to a hockey-filled weekend and back to football next week with the Riders in town. It's like we got to come up with a good nickname for like the second Banjo Bowl, right?
Well, the last time this happened was in 2018. I remember because I was at a conference for work. I was in Logan Airport in Boston. So I missed that home game, and I invited one of my buddies to go, Cello and his wife from Regina, because they're Rider fans. And it was the third meeting of the season, 2018. It was in the fall. And Zach Collaros, I believe, started for the Riders, and it was the second home game for the Bombers against the Riders, just like this year. And we beat him 31-0, just like Waiters is saying. It was great. It started off with a Gator pick 6, and there was an unbelievable Dressler catch from Stravler. It was just a great afternoon. And I remember watching it at the airport, and nobody knew what the hell I was watching. But hopefully it's something like that again. It'd be fun to shut those guys out. So we'll see everybody next week. We'll tee up that game, and have a great week. Enjoy the rest. And if you are a big Jets fan, keep it locked on my buddy DB, Instagram, Twitter. He's got it. He's got a lot going on.
Do want to mention this, as you mentioned Zach Collaros playing for a different team. This came out in the CFL game notes this week.
Oh yeah.
Only 2 starting quarterbacks hold a career-winning record against Calgary. Only 2. BC's overtime win in Week 15 improved Vernon Adams Jr.'s record versus the Stampeders to 4-2. The only other quarterback with a winning record against the Stamps, Zach Collaros, is 8-5. This is the amazing part.
Wow.
The league's 7 remaining starting quarterbacks are a combined 3, 23, and 2. That's 3 wins, 23 losses, 2 ties.
Wow.
In their careers against the Stampeders. That's a winning percentage of 0.143. Collaros is 8-5 versus the Stamps. Vernon Adams Jr. is 4-2.
That's incredible, man. What a great stat.
Really incredible.
Yep. What a great stat. Kudos to them, and kudos to you for picking up on that. I know 2 of those ties, I think, are the Trevor Harris Ottawa Calgary games, if I'm not mistaken. But the losses, oh yeah, it's just it's a graveyard, right? Or it has been for the past 10 plus years. Same as my GPA, Corey May. That's a good one, buddy. Love it. Love it. Love the live chat. Love you guys. Have a great week. Enjoy the football, and we will catch up next week.
Sounds good to me. Everybody, thanks again. And keep it locked here to Bonfire Sports. Jets hockey, Bombers football. We got you covered top to bottom. Shout out Michael Remus, you and your bride. Congratulations. Second baby on the way, and we look forward to that several months from now. But take care, everybody. Enjoy your bye week. Rifles host Regina Sunday, 1 p.m. at IG Field. Riflesfootball.com for more information. We will see you next time.